All right, what's going on, everyone? We're back with more developing. It's time for developments to occur. I added the spiders back in temporarily. I made some adjustments. I'm doing some spider stuff, spider-related things off stream. Yeah, we're gonna keep working on the chemistry stuff today. I think we'll just continue where we left off. I think we were slowly trying to implement the logic for a wooden barrel filled with water, whatever interactions that might yield. Here's the spider. Here's the spider I've been working on. Play the animation because it's cool. Yeah, I made the spider slower. I also added the ability to like change the color of the eyes, but all of this stuff is like very easy to do with the workflow I've set up. So changing the color of the eyes took me like 40 seconds to do. Like I just made a small adjustment to one of the textures. Yeah, let's see what we have so far. I'll probably have to add the barrels back in for testing purposes. And yeah, we're really gonna have to improve our ability to save the information, like on the different tiles and stuff. Yeah, I made the spiders huge for testing purposes. You can see a little more detail that way. I don't know how big the spiders are going to get, because, like, I mean, this spider here is, like, significantly larger than one of the trees, so I don't know. Pretty big for even, like, fantasy spiders. Like, this thing right here is the size of, like, a clearing. Yeah, like, if you were a human standing there, it would be like a building. Some of these spiders. Although I do have the scale doubled right now, so it might be affecting it. But even with the scale cut in half, they're still pretty large. Yeah, let me add the barrels back in. Okay, and I'm trying to remember where we were last time. What, like, editor stuff do we have right now? We have the contents, water, and wood, which is correct. Yeah, and right now I think we're working on, like, propagating rigid body collisions down into, like, the chemical things, the different, like, systems and stuff. And then down to the reactants. Is that what they're called now? I keep changing the name. Although I wanna, you know, get the names right while it's still in like a malleable state before I like commit the different terminology to memory fully. We actually don't have many types here now, so we've kind of like, I don't know, I don't want to say streamlined, but like I don't want to have any types that are doing duplicate effort. Are we using component? No, I feel like we'd be using like reactant. Yeah, create from component. We have a chemical velocity. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's reactant. And then reaction is like the hard-coded thing. Element. It's like the resource data. Yeah. Are we using this anywhere? I don't know. Chemical. Oh, yeah, we are. Yeah, what's going on here? So we get the directional contents, force.normalized, reactants.append reactant, system.collide. So we need a way for these to, like, collide with each other. I could try, like, bumping them into each other, but it would be helpful to be able to, like, also collide with the dragon. I could probably use the grappling tongue upgrade just to test it out. Okay, let me go to hull system. Implement this function. And I was a little worried because I kept getting warnings where I was, like, not using the parameter um for, like, what is it, virtual functions, virtual methods. But it seems like I can change it when I actually implement it, which is nice. So, like, that's fine. Yeah, let me print just to test this. We're actually going to start testing things now, which ideally I could have done sooner. Shouldn't be too bad, though. Array of reactant. Okay, I think we want to do a little more than that. Print reactant.element.resource name. Isn't there a way to print, like, in the debug thing or whatever? Might be a little faster. Debug console dot. Okay. Ooh. Okay, I don't see anything there for, like, printing. Print debug? No, that looks like it's built in. Um, command console maybe? It's probably debug console. Why does this not have a class name? What? Also, let me turn my fan on. 1 second. I've re-entered the chair. Oh, now the cinematography is gonna be messed up. No, no. The light direction, the angle isn't gonna bounce off my face at the exact correct number. Or the light isn't gonna bounce off my face at the exact correct angle. Mixing words up a little bit there. You know what I mean. Um, yeah, where's all the, like, the command stuff and everything? Command. What am I looking at here? Get UI extends node. What script is this? What the hell? Debug console. This might be, like, wrong. What is this? Console? Okay. That's messed up. Let's go back to the barrel. Were we in the scene to begin with? I think we were. Okay, hull system. What's up, the fan wiggles? Welcome. Console dot print new line. I'm assuming that's static. So I don't have to wait for Godot to be dumb. Or you know what, I probably should wait for Godot to be dumb. So I can see any other errors that might be occurring. But just this once. I guess we could print both. Sure, why not? Yeah. I still have to like actually add commands. Or finish adding them. Yeah, I wish I could like anticipate better how we might do some of the visuals, but I guess I could plan that out. I guess I could like do that. But also like if you're gonna go so in depth with the planning where you figure out literally exactly what you need to do, you might as well just try to make an implementation at that point. So if this doesn't work, I mean, I could consider that like a failed planning attempt. I'm kind of coming up with the ideas as I make the system. I kind of had like a loose guide with the obsidian thing. I had like what I wanted to do in mind. I think the main thing here is like the hierarchical approach to uh like passing physics events down and creating new physics events through various means. Okay, no collisions yet, which makes sense. We need to bump one of the barrels into another barrel. Okay, I accidentally equipped the Drake body type. That's fine. There's two barrels right there. That's our chance. I might just be able to push one into the other. Will it work? Oh, we're close. Okay. We got an error. So it was good that I tested the GD script. Force.normalized. Okay. Um, we have to convert this to a vector 3. Wait, what? Okay, var force normalized equals force.normalized. And then turn that into a vector 3. Right? Yeah. Oh, did we set the direction on the thing? Well, it looks like the default value is usable. Because we do want this to be like completely encapsulated. We might leave a very little bit open for like, I don't know. Maybe I'll incorporate that into the hull system or something, but like a way to represent what's like the little nozzle on the top of a barrel that you sometimes see. I don't know. I guess it's a nozzle. I'm not sure. But then some barrels also let you take the lids off of them, so you know, we'll see. We might not have to go that in depth though. I mean, yeah. Maybe I'll get to the point where I can like implement leaking from the barrels. Or maybe I'll just destroy them completely. Like it'll be one or the other. Who knows? Yeah, let me run it again. I've been working on a new YouTube short. If I don't get a gajillion views in the first 5 seconds, I'm quitting YouTube forever. No. Um, Hopefully I get a gajillion views in the first 5 seconds. Who knows? Who knows anything about anything? I think if you try hard enough, you can understand. You can know some things. You can know many things. At least you can know many relevant things. Like, you may not know what it was like, before the universe started or whatever. But you can know the events that took place after. Right? Anything that's like within a reasonable, like within the has been like discovered, you can figure it out. Okay, anything that's been scientifically discovered, you can figure it out, assuming it's been documented somewhere where it's accessible. It's a source. And that's just like scientific ideas. You could do that for like any kind of idea. If you want, you can figure out like, hey, what's the point of doing things? Which is kind of like, there's no objective answer for that. But you can define that subjectively, non-objectively, and then go, what am I talking about? This is way too deep. I'm not allowed to go this deep. Come on. Okay, we gotta make the barrels attack each other. Oh my god. What do you mean? Invalid access to... So lame. Tile destroyed on a base object of type tile map. Are you serious? That's... Oh, that's true, actually. So we were using it somewhere. Interesting. Dang. That's gonna give me a warning, though. Oh my god, I already have so many other warnings somehow. What the hell? Okay, let's keep going. Maybe I could use this time to talk about spiders. I mean, I said some of this, I think, in the last stream, but I want them to have, like, spider dens that procedurally generate around the world, like generated structures. And you could have, like, lots of spiders in the dens, as you might be able to predict. Maybe you'll have, like, nests or, like, spider eggs or something. Something cool and gnarly like that. Yeah, and I want, like, webs that, have some sort of, like, unique physics behavior. And I want the webs to be kind of large. So it would kind of be like a entity tile, and then it would connect to a random adjacent tile. I guess that's a way I could go about implementing it. And we have, like, an entire chunk of, like, buffer before, it becomes visible, right? Like, we're rendering an extra chunk around the player outside the view bounds. So as long as it doesn't span more than, like, a chunk, we should be good. So I could, like, impose a limit for that, but that would be plenty of space. Assuming that's what's happening. Or I could just have, like, 2 entity tiles and they connect. So either one of them could load, and then the other one, like, pops up. Okay, we're gonna take this barrel. Oh my god. I have to adjust the parameters on the chameleon tongue upgrade. Also, I hope I don't accidentally break the barrel. Shit. Okay, we gotta go backwards like a truck. How is it not breaking then? Okay. Go farther. Never mind, there's like a maximum length. This is really precarious. This has become like a towing game now. Oh my god. What? Reactant.force. Reactant.create from component. Are you serious? On a base object of type nil. Like right after we create it from a component. Are we returning it? Okay. That's funny. So there's always like 4 things you have to go back and sweep up before you can actually test the thing. These are the rules, okay? This was expected. I knew the exact number of errors and exactly where they were. I put them in intentionally so I could have something to fix. To legitimize the programming process that I'm doing now. Wonder what other kinds of factions. I had talked about like having undead creatures. Other dragons maybe? I don't know. I'd have to have like, multiple dragons in the game. NPC controlled dragons, which would probably be manageable enough to be honest. Like it's something I could do for sure. But I would have it wouldn't be as easy as implementing like any other enemy. Could also think about like what kind of human factions I want. Like what kind of world building? Do I want a lot of world building? Do I want like named factions or do I just want like tribal human faction, medieval human I don't this is like RimWorld or something. Feudal human faction, vampire faction. Or do I want like the House of Volcaire or something like that? I don't know. I gotta think about like what level of world building I want. Okay, where are the barrels? Come on. Maybe I should increase the health of the barrels or like the impact threshold. I don't know what the thing is there. Oh my god, it's so springy. I really gotta make the water look better too. Like not the water itself, but the animation within the water. Since we're in 3D, that should be easier to do. When I decide to do it. Okay. Invalid assignment of property or key force with value of type vector 2 on a base object of type ref counted reactants. Is it a vector 3? It is. No constructor of vector 2 matches the signature. Wrong. Kind of want to try updating to 4.4 so I can have typed dictionaries. I gotta do profiling at some point. The performance is starting to get kind of bad. I think there are optimizations that I could make. Like when loading in new chunks, it takes a while. I'm assuming that's only going to get worse as we like add more savable data to the tiles. How long does it take? I wonder how long exactly it takes to run the project through Godot right now. Is it like a minute? Minute 30 seconds? Can we do the thing yet? Will it work? Let's see. Okay, the tongue shouldn't push it back up like that. Okay, don't break the barrel. I can't really reel it in, because that would probably be way too fast. Okay, now we just make them bump into each other. Yes, eventually we'll add collisions with the dragon itself using part body. Whoa, times 52 probably doesn't have a resource name, does it? Yeah, okay. Well, now we don't have to test it through Godot because we know it's able to like get to that part of the code. Instead of resource name, let me use file path, resource path. Okay, what warnings do we have? We're gonna fix them right now. Oh my god, that's a lot. Didn't I already fix all this stuff? Oh no, I had to give them like default values, right? What is this? Float is converted to int and loses precision. Region size divided by 64 as int. Arrowing conversion. Okay, we'll convert it. What? Does this return an integer? I don't know. Maybe we can do it this way. And it won't get mad at us. Okay, let's run. Alright, the barrels are close to each other. This is good. This is a good thing. Alright, cool. So now, basically, what we can do with this, what we can think of this as, is the barrel is touching the other barrel and is now detecting that it is touching wood. which is the wood on the other barrel, but of course there's the contents inside. So it's touching the wood as opposed to the contents inside of the barrel, which would be water. So now we can do things. Now we've basically propagated this down to the chemical level, and we can start doing chemical stuff. So I don't know what reaction wood would have with wood, but something is definitely going to happen. Going to work. Yeah, like getting all the consequences of that to like go back up to the nodes. I guess we'll see what happens, especially if like I'm trying to trigger one of those actions from like a chemical level on another node. So if I were to try and do something on the other barrel, specifically to the node of the barrel, the other barrel, I don't even know if I could do that right now without changing things. Yeah, hull system. Okay. So what do we want to do now? Hmm. We could try and implement the destruction side of things. We do have the force we can work with, right? Maybe I should print that. Maybe I should print the force. Make sure that we're getting some sort of correct value. So I can say print new line, collision dot, or I guess reactant dot force. Okay. That makes sense because it has to be done per, element in the system. Convert that to a string. Maybe I should have this taken a variant instead. There we go. Maybe I should add commands to simulate like different. No, because you do need like nodes for that. I mean, maybe I could like initialize the nodes and then call the functions manually or something, but that would be like a lot to add to our command system. Yeah, the tricky part is just making sure I don't destroy the barrel. It'd be helpful if I had the bite upgrade enabled right now. That would actually be really helpful. Okay, so it's difficult to tell which direction is which. Um, Seems like none of them are receiving any force that has like a positive y direction. So that must be the force between them. Yeah, because it's printing it twice. Oh, but you know what? I guess no, it wouldn't be for multiple reactants, right? So I think this is what both of them are printing. So it's like the overall force being applied. I guess I can also see this as I move around. Oh, shit. Unfortunate. As long as I just don't, like, bump into it really fast, I can, like, push it kind of fast. Yeah, if I go the other way, I guess it would print two at the same time, but now the y-axis might actually be positive in this situation. No, it's still negative. What direction was I pushing it before? These are all negative on the y-axis. The z-axis, technically. Oh my god. What? What the hell? What just happened there? And a lot of 0, 0, 0s. Okay, what if I try moving them downward? Like... Oh my... Thank you, Microsoft. Seriously, like, my computer just has, like, a disease or something. I don't know. I don't know how to get rid of that. Something went wrong. I know a disease my computer has. It's called Windows. That is the affliction. This is the worst chemistry engine anyone's ever made in any game ever. This is the worst bumping barrel into another barrel to have it scan for its chemical contents system anyone has ever made ever. Why does it look like there's something under it? What is that? What? What? Stop. Cut that out. I think it's the shadows like on the back. I think it's the lighting. Yeah. I don't think we're using our toon shader for this, which we should be. Wait, no, it's like the normals are flipped. What the hell? God! It seems pretty inconsistent too. This is like awesome. What kind of experience would I get for doing this? I would get precision, right? Because I'm doing some sort of precise movement action thing. Moment. Oh my god. It's still all negative. Why? Why are you doing that? Why would you do this? Like, it doesn't matter what direction I go. It's always negative. Okay, that time it just got destroyed. That's cool. Okay, how do we want to think about force? It has to be the force coming towards the system. That's how it has to be. I don't know if we can just use the force thing. Or we have to, like, adjust it in some way. Okay, while I'm here, I might as well give the barrel, like, the correct shader. I guess we could use enemy for now. Sure. Wait, what? Shouldn't the default for this be like a white texture? Oh, it must be like an own world 3D thing or something. No. I don't think so. Modulate. Okay. Hold on. Source color. Int default white. Oh, but they're all gonna be blue. Wait, hint default. If it could be like a red texture by default, that would be better. Yeah, there we go. Okay. I guess since it's a barrel, I'll make it like barrel colored. Can have specular highlights on our barrel. Maybe I should increase the default light steps to like 6. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, let's see what other methods we can use to detect the force. Okay. State.get contact impulse, contact I, divided by cc.duration. Chemical collision. Okay. Get contact impulse. So what is this exactly? Turns the impulse created by the contact. So I would like understand that a little bit better if it was like the direction everything was moving. But it's not. It doesn't seem to be that. Get contact collider velocity position impulse local velocity position. Is there a better like description in the documentation? Oh, I guess that would be on physics direct body state 2D. Yeah, it's the same description. Turns the impulse created by the contact. Okay, well that's like the closest thing to what we want. It is. How is integrate forces called though? No, the sign wouldn't change for the force no matter what. Choose collision force right here. We could try using that. Divided by state.inverse mass times state.step. That's only for like one collision. Or this is just measuring the change in linear velocity. Yeah. And how do we want to measure force also? It would probably be per square meter, right? Force exerted per square meter. So we'd have to like convert it to something somehow. Divide it by like the total volume of the collider. And then like 3D, we have to turn that into 3D somehow. Right. Yeah. This would be a lot easier if everything was just 3D. But it's fine. We're going to stick with the 2D mix combination. We're gonna try using collision force for a little bit. We want like both versions here. Yeah, and that would be... I think we would want to divide that by the duration. Let's try that. Because then we turn that into like force per second. But if we're only doing it for one update, we should be fine. Yeah, we're setting the time as well. Yeah, we are. Okay. So we're kind of using it to do like an impulse, basically. So depending on how we adjust the duration, we can either do like a force or an impulse. Okay, now I just have to actually get the barrel to the other one. Okay, I should make the barrel stronger. What am I doing? Or like just have them not just get destroyed? 300. That's your new health. Should make things a little bit easier, hopefully. Okay, if I move it down, that should be 1 on the y-axis, but it depends which barrel we're checking on, so... oh my god, oh my god. It's a lot of stuff. Jeez, okay. That's a lot. That's like a lot right there. I don't know, that's like a lot of force. What is that even supposed to be? Like, what unit? What unit is that? I think our, like, measurements are off here. Yeah, because we're using, like, the mass of the rigid body and the difference in linear velocity. I feel like that would be fine. We don't know what unit it is, though. That is true. How is force measured? We have that written down, I'm pretty sure. In reactant? Net kinetic energy difference, or, yeah, net kinetic difference energy. Wait, what? Net kinetic difference energy. Net kinetic energy difference in meters per second. uh, no, that's not really what it would be. It would just be how much the other thing is pushing towards it. It also says net kinetic energy difference, which, well, I guess we have the mass here, so we could just pass it. We wouldn't have to worry about, like, the volume yet. Are we at least getting, well, we are getting different signs now. Seems like very few of them want to be positive for some reason. Well, I guess we're getting, like, the inverse collisions here. Yeah. These are almost like exact opposites of each other. Or, you know, approximately, more or less. I think the way we're measuring the velocity, though, is like crazy. I don't know how we're getting. I mean, I know we're multiplying it by, you know, the physics ticks per second. This is like. I feel like we've always kind of had that problem. Maybe it's fine, though. Collision force equals. This is the difference in velocity. Difference velocity. Maybe I should call it velocity difference. Divided by state dot inverse mass times state dot step. As the step gets larger, the collision force gets smaller. Is that what's happening? Okay, I guess I could see that. Inverse mass. Okay, what is inverse mass? That's something on state. The inverse of the mass of the body. So like 1 divided by the mass. Inverse inertia. I don't even know what inertia is. Well, I know what inertia is, but how it's represented in Godot. The inverse of the inertia of the body. Was that just like the velocity? Or like how much it's slowing down? Inertia is like velocity with the implication that you can't like stop something easily that's already in motion, right? I don't know. Inverse inertia. Not sure. Not sure what it means by that. Um Angular velocity, we don't have to really worry about that right now. Center of mass, step, total angular dampening. Okay. Um yeah, why don't we add the duration? That'll give us more reasonable numbers. That's still a lot of force though. And would it even be in meters per second? No. We want to measure it in meters per second. I think. I think that's the idea. The barrels are much stronger now. That's nice. Okay, I want to see if I can get it more on the y-axis. It's better. Okay, that'll probably suffice. Yes, these are much more reasonable values. Although, again, we're going to use the velocity difference ultimately. I think. How do we want to measure force? We should, like, figure that out. In the context of the chemistry engine. I'm pretty tired today, I will say. It is one of those days, it would seem. So we have the mass, and these are these stored on, like, are these stored as export variables? I don't think they are. Let me go to the hull system. Inner, outer. Huh. Oh, contiguous system. Array of component, that's what it is. It's component. Elements amount. We have the mass and the force. Net kinetic energy difference in meters per second. Our events are being propagated correctly, so that is good. I'm just now trying to resolve like what units we want to use and how we want to determine, you know, the force that different elements exert on each other. I think it should be I mean, you have velocity, right? What does velocity represent again? Density, temperature. Density and temperature. Okay. I guess you could think of those as velocity. Well, temperature, sure. Um, Density, maybe. Is it like a density velocity? I think it is. No, that would be more of like that would just be the actual density. Unless again we're specifically talking about a density velocity, which I don't think we need. Mass, force, element. Could I reference the component, not the element? I feel like I might want to reference the component. Yeah, and because we're doing the function here, I don't think we should have to go and fix this anywhere. Oh, but if we are trying to reference the component, then maybe. I don't know if we're doing that yet, though. Yeah, it seems okay. Element and amount. Yeah, where do we want the different values to be? Um, Net kinetic energy difference in meters per second. So this would be from one thing to another. Wait, kinetic energy difference. So it's not velocity. It doesn't say that here. It's like what would be the best thing to use? If the mass. Although the mass could probably be stored on the component. Why don't I do that? Force, which I think should be measured per square meter. Yeah, probably. Although we're gonna need to know the height of the barrel, ideally, to do that, right? Net kinetic energy difference in meters per second. Net kinetic energy difference. Oh, I think I see. I think I see what it's saying there. Right. It would be like a velocity difference. Yeah. Why am I calling it kinetic energy though? Because that would be the net kinetic energy is velocity. Why did I say velocity difference? Or add that in parentheses. Velocity difference in meters per second. That's probably fine. Representing it as the entire like body of chemicals. Net kinetic energy difference in meters per second. Okay. Yeah, because we're not setting the height, but we are setting the mass. So that's like okay. But should we measure it as velocity? No, I think we should measure it as the actual force being exerted. I guess if our units can be like 1 unit of force, 1 unit could move 1 gram, 1 meter or something. I think that's kind of how it's done in real life. Not entirely sure. But we should measure probably using those units. So instead of net kinetic energy velocity difference in meters per second, I'm going to say, yeah, we even have meters per second here. Hold on. Isn't it joules? Isn't that what joules are? When a force of 1 Newton moves an object 1 meter. This is an AI summary. Hold on. Force of 1 Newton when its point of application moves 1 meter in the direction of action of the force. Equal to the work done by the force of 1 Newton when its point of application moves 1 meter in the direction of action of the force. That sounds dumb. Hold on. Gotta figure this out. Wikipedia, help me. 1 joule corresponds to 1 kilogram meter squared per second squared. Kilogram meter squared. So is it squared kilograms? As in like density? 1 joule is equal to the amount of work done when a force of 1 Newton displaces a body through a distance of 1 meter in the direction of that force. Force of 1 Newton. What the hell? Should I look at newtons instead? Is this dependent on the characteristics of the body? 1 joule is equal to the amount of work done when a force of 1 Newton displaces a body through a distance of 1 meter. So, like, joule, the force of joule would depend on the mass of the body, like how far or how much Newton it would take to push it a meter. That doesn't sound right. Hold on, unless Newton is over time. Well, I guess it is. We probably want something more like Newton's, because we do want over time so we can multiply it. 1 kilogram times meters per second squared. The force that accelerates a mass of 1 kilogram at 1 meter per second squared. Why squared? We're talking about a linear direct. Oh my god! Physics. Damn it. Newtonian physics. What the hell? That's funny. I was like, can I call it Newtonian physics? Can I call Newton? Can I call the Newton part of Newtonian physics? Is that allowed? Then I thought for a second. I was like, wait. The force that accelerates a mass of 1 kilogram at 1 meter per second, and I'm going to ignore the squared. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. A mass of 1 kilogram at 1 meter per second squared. Okay. So we're going to make our own thing here. Net force, and also the ad break's about to start, so I will pause the stream for 3 minutes. Kind of not the best timing. Maybe I can get this done now. Grams. It's enough to move a gram a meter a second. Okay. Grams. Okay, let me steal Wikipedia's way of doing it. I don't know what the multiply means, though. Oh, because you're moving, they're like grams and meters per second. So it's like, and how many meters you move the gram per second. Okay, that makes sense. So it's a little different than their Newton. We're not using kilograms. Okay, I'll be back in 3 minutes. Okay, we're back. Um, so we probably actually should measure this per meter or per square meter or per cubic meter. I hope I was specifying that before. Because, with the chemical calculations, we want to sample a specific, section of the chemicals, not like the entire thing. So if we were to, it would be easier to represent the like tensile strength of a substance per meter cubed and then compare that to this value for, those sorts of applications. So I will actually specify per meter cubed. I'm trying to like develop kind of like my own thing here. My own convention. Net force. Okay, well now we don't really have to say net force. Force in grams to move a meter or to move a gram a meter per second. Oh my god. Move a gram a meter. I should probably spell this out. And it's kind of hard to spell it. Okay, to move a gram a meter every second per meter cubed. Cubic meter. Yes. So we probably will need some kind of way to get the density or get the volume of one of these systems. And I could specify the volume on the barrel, or like here somewhere, like the start volume at least. So, it could change. I don't know. Might also want to be able to specify the thickness of the hull. Could be important. Yeah, maybe we could calculate. We could calculate the mass of the body from all of this stuff. Yeah, so should I specify the volume on the system? Is that the way to go? I don't know. So that's like a commitment. Then I have to like add that into the system and integrate it and like set that as the new standard. I mean, where else? I could try and figure that out from the mass of the rigid body, but that seems worse than doing it the way I just described. Okay. Should I specify that only on the hull system? Like, what about the contiguous system? I don't know. And also, this is technically going to be like a starting volume. Yeah. So maybe like it should depend on the mass. Oh God. Don't know. Yeah, mass is actually better. Mass is a better measurement. And then we can put the density of the wood and then figure out the volume from that. Probably, I would say. Would be the best way to do it. So let's just say it's like, I don't know. What are wood barrels made of? Extremely difficult question. Oak wood, okay. Density of oak wood. 594 kilograms per meter cubed. So like 6,000 grams. Okay. Let's add that to our elements. Oh, but that would be at room temperature. Oh, God. Right, we want to add like gases and liquids too. I'm having flashbacks. I'm actually having flashbacks right now. Okay, I'm gonna say, well, the mass is also gonna be dependent on what's within the contents of the barrel. You know. So I could have that as like a default value, maybe. Or maybe every system could have a mass. No, because then it's like the starting mass. Well, no, mass is different. Yeah, so do I want to initialize it all here? I don't know. We also need like the shape of the hull. No, probably not. It's probably not necessary. It would cause some pretty big differences though, at like a large scale, like for the ship, that sort of thing. Yeah. Yeah, we need some consistent means of like correlating mass to like the dimensions of the collision shapes and like the visuals and stuff. And do I want to bother with like different densities at different states of matter? Do I want to, is that like a thing that I want to do? Probably at least want the mass. Or yeah, the density for, we probably do. We probably do want that. Because then otherwise how are we going to determine, which gases float above other gases and, stuff like that. We can guess for a lot of them, but it's pretty essential information. Now, we won't worry about minor fluctuations in that stuff, like, if the temperature of a solid increases but doesn't turn into a liquid, its density would still technically be slightly higher, but nowhere near as, or it would be lower. Density would be lower, but nowhere near as low as a liquid. So, But it's gonna depend on a bunch of pressure would affect it, right? Pressure would affect the density. That's like part of the whole thing here. So maybe instead of the density, maybe we could represent the intermediate states. But no, we would need like, oh god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. Yeah, because with the hot air balloon, you know, if the temperature of like the gas inside of it increases, that should decrease the density. We've got to, I think we've got to represent it as like some sort of strength values or resistance values on the element instead. Jeez, how far do I want to go with this? Because I don't know how I'm going to get any of those values for like anything ever. I could just like guess or like make it make sense. It would take a while though. It's basically this would require a shit ton of balancing. I'm just gonna spend like 5 years balancing the different elements in the game. Not actually 5 years. Would be funny though. If I represent the melting points and stuff as like a temperature, I could turn that into like different forces as well. I don't know. We might need some sort of exception system. But like sometimes an element will do a different thing. But then we're already using resources, so we'd have to add all of that into the resources. What if I use like a float curve? Oh my god. Yeah. Wait, what am I doing? Right. We need like different forces. Oh my god. Why is ice less dense when it melts? Is that actually true? Or when it freezes? Yeah. Like how would I incorporate that into the system, you know? Does it become a different molecule? Wait, is ice a lie? No, it's the same molecule, it's just the structure is different. Structures. How about instead of okay. I don't know. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Um we could have like different no, we can't have different elements for every single state for every single actual element. Too much. Not emergent enough. We gotta push through this. We gotta figure it out. Uh yeah, so we could have like a tensile and compressive. resistance and strength, I guess. What if I look up the... I mean, we should be able to see the tensile strength of wood. That should be like a thing. Megapascals? Pascals? 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 What the hell? How do you say that? I know I could use Pedro Pascal's name as reference, but I don't know if it's the same.
Pascal.
Pascal, what the hell? You see what I mean? Who makes this shit up? Doesn't make any sense. Pascal, okay. I knew it. I'm gonna go with the first guess I had and say I knew it. Megapascals. And what is a Pascal? Exact. What does that measure? Pressure, but like what? What kind of pressure? One Newton per square meter. Okay. So force per meter. But isn't newtons over time? It is. It is over time. So this measurement, pascals are per second in some way. So it's just newtons per square meter, basically. So should I measure it as pressure required? Yes, I guess I could do that. It's kind of like a cross section, the example of the tensile strength tests. Like you're pulling it apart and then it splits presumably like with surface area. Like when you split and then you look at the two halves and then the spots where they split, that's surface area that's exposed. It's like not a three-dimensional, it's not a very three-dimensional thing, I guess. Yeah. So I guess we could measure it in terms of per meter squared. Already I'm trying to do this too fundamentally because then I don't know how we're going to create all the exceptions for different kinds of like chemical things. Like again with water being sus when it's frozen. Hmm. Could I say like centipascals? Would that be my measurement? I don't know. I'm trying to think of how all of this is going to work now. All I was thinking of was reactions. I wasn't thinking of just like the typical behaviors of all these different elements. I'm going to need some more stuff here. I'm gonna need more planning or more stuff in my system. I'm gonna need to plan for more stuff in my system. So maybe I should think of like the example of water. We could create like some sort of element state resource, which can represent the properties within a state, maybe. Yeah, perhaps. And the tensile strength could also help to determine, how we would like break something. Tensile and compressive strength, I guess. Compressive strength for like an atom though is kind of different though, because it's more so like shearing. Not really like if you get the atoms close enough, the force is suddenly gonna stop. No, it would just get stronger and stronger, like the necessary forces, I imagine. Really, the compressive force comes into effect when you have like a lattice of interconnected atoms or molecules, and then, they can shear past each other in a way that just feels kind of like you're just squashing it. Kind of like a spring. So tensile strength is probably more important. We could probably represent compressive strength in some way, though. Okay, so right now I'm kind of thinking the plan would be um, compressive and tensile strengths for each state of the element. Also, do I want to be able to add custom states? Or, like, do I want to do the resource-based thing? Or do I want to, have it all just here as their own variables? Really, the issue is, like, when do we transition to another state? Yeah. Okay. I guess we'll write it all here. So why don't I call this solid tensile strength? This is insane. Why am I doing this? It was crazy. Jesus Christ. Okay. The reactions are still going to be hard coded in. We just need like some fun residual behaviors as well that we can do to determine like what gases rise above other gases, how does the balloon expand, very basic, very simple, extremely easy to implement. Guys, I really don't know if we're gonna be able to pull this off. We're gonna try. We're gonna try until I run out of brain power, or figure out that I'm gonna have to spend like 5,000 hours doing something. Solid tensile strength. Okay, we need to write down the unit. I guess we would use meters squared, which could, I mean, when it comes to like determining whether things would melt or not, uh, they also need flexibility. So strength, that's going to represent when it like snaps, basically. So we won't really need flexibility for like a liquid. But we might want like a slime state or something. Well, I guess in that case we would just increase like the tensile strength, right? Or like the attraction the molecules have to each other. Should I do it as resources? Oh my god. I'm gonna say we'll try it. Yeah. As long as we can configure it in the same way. God. Extends resource. Class name. Element state. Okay. Put all of this stuff in here. We might be able to determine procedurally which state would be transitioned to at any point. So now we have a bunch of states. Like, we don't really have to bother with liquid wood. We don't have to do that. It's fine. Wood can be just solid forever. Or gas wood, which I guess would kind of just be like a fire. Yeah. We'll at least have conversions, indirect conversions to gases through reactions for some of these. For like wood, for example. We just want to make it believable. Okay, element state. So what do we want in here? Each state should have its own density, I think. Yeah. Density. Can we export with a tooltip? Ooh. Ooh, okay. Let me see. Let me look it up on Godot, because that could be helpful. Wait, there's actual descriptions? Is that like a thing? Okay. Test. I should probably do that for at least the export ones. Yeah, I'll start with wood. Although it'd be nice to like name these. Yeah. Okay, do we have our tooltip? We do. That's cool. Density in grams per meter cubed. So we'll say this is the solid one inside a period. Yeah, we'll say this is the solid form of wood, which is probably the only state we're gonna add for wood. We're moving through it. Density of oak wood. I'm gonna say 6,000. That's what I'm gonna say. So that is now the density of this state. Tensile strength. God, all the flashbacks are really coming back to me from the last time I tried to make a chemistry engine like this. And I said, "Oh, when I moved on to this project, I was like, hey, in my last project, I tried to simulate the universe, and I was really dumb because I was like trying to simulate atoms and stuff. Which, to be fair, I'm not simulating atoms here. I'm just hard coding in the values. So maybe it's like one step removed, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Tensile strength in, and how do we want to do this? How will this work for like the different state transitions? Do we want to be able to manually determine whether the state transition happens at any given point or not? Okay, hold on. I take it back. We're going to go back to not using a array. Please stop not working. Like, I can't imagine we'd have something that could be a slime and a liquid. So make sure I go back to wood and set that here. Yeah, and we want to probably measure this in, how are we measuring force? Over in reactant. How much force it takes to move a gram, a meter every second, or meters cubed. Should I use meters squared here? Like, do I want to think of this volumetrically? Oh my god, are we going to add surface area into this as well? This is too complicated already. This is way too complicated. I'm so happy to add volume, but I hate surface area for some reason. I mean, all of these things are, I can like implement them. It's just what next? That's like my main fear. We have models for all of these things. Yeah, like if you have gases, I guess if you can consider the gases like shearing against each other, then maybe. We're gonna try meters squared though for this. Um, you know what? We can actually use the exact same unit for the tensile strength. Huh. So if a megapascal is newtons, which is kilograms, we would just multiply it by 1,000, right? Why are we measuring this in kilograms per meters cubed? What the hell is this? Oh, I'm looking at density. Oh my god, I'm already running out of, like, data for this. No! No, it's always like these random websites from, like, these, like, service providers. Or, like, these industrial wood companies and stuff. Actually, I don't know. I don't know if that's what this one is. What are we looking at here, though? Red oak wood. American red oak wood. Uh, we got some stuff here. Perpendicular to grain. I think we'll measure this as parallel to the grain. Or maybe I'll find somewhere in between. Like, I'm not going to worry about the grain direction. Please, God. Please, God, no. Don't make me do that. Okay, I'll just say, like, 160. Wait, it has to be multiplied by 1,000. So 1,600 would be tensile strength in grams per meter per second, meters squared. Yep. Oh my God. Yeah, because it would be from kilograms to just grams, right? And the more elements we add, the more we can basically just like guesstimate and say, okay, well, iron is probably going to have a higher tensile strength than wood, so maybe I'll just set it to like 4,000. We can also look those things up. Basically, anything we can't find, we just guess. I have no idea if this is going to work. Compressive strength, I don't know. I don't even know if we should like allow gases to mix, like behaviorally speaking. We should allow them to react and form new gases between each other. I mean, like if they mix, I don't know, maybe a contiguous thing can do that. But we'd have to determine whether we can like enter it or not. I guess depending on the density, some other things. Like how easy it would be for something to enter that substance. How else are we gonna have like carbonation bubbles for our in-game sodas? Solid tensile strength. Yeah, again, compressive strength. So with melting, I feel like it should depend on the tensile strength. Like for ice, once it breaks because of temperature, then it should melt, I think. So like if we convert the temperature calculation and then the amount is like over or something, then we just say it's in the liquid state. We treat it as if it's in the liquid state. However, if it is a force or a net sort of thing, a net kinetic energy thing, um we can break it. Yeah. Oh my God. Is there any way to like export category? Isn't that a thing? We would definitely need it for something like this, I feel. Sudo export category. GD script exported properties. Grouping exports. Export group, I see. Can I disable certain ones depending on the results of others? I don't know. suffix M. Is that only for export range? Yeah, it seems like this is only for range. Floats with easing hint. Colors. Nodes, resources, bit flags. Enums. Exporting arrays, export storage, export custom. Okay. Oh. That would be helpful. The suffix would be... Is there a prefix? Can I do a prefix? I mean, I don't need a prefix, but I'm curious. Okay. That's probably not necessary, but we can just add our suffix in as well. That definitely... things a little more consistent. Grams per meters cubed. This is insane. Why am I doing this? Yeah, so again, compressive strength. Crushing things. I guess we could use compressive strength. Sure. Sure, why not? When you're bending something though, that is a mix of, like if you're trying to snap something in half, that would be a mix of compressive and tensile strength, right? So in that case, we could probably just get whatever the value in the middle is, but there could be some crazy situation, like for some Schmorgus element or something, where like, oh, if you bend it that way, then it's actually like 5,000% because the molecular structure or whatever. That could actually be a thing. Yeah, that's grains. Like you could have something that if you pull it one way, it's super fragile, but then if you pull it another way, it's like indestructible. The world's strongest material ever made, ever. This is so stupid. Damn it. Should I add different tensile strengths for different directions? Should I use a vector 3? No, because then... Because then I'm going to have to rotate it. Oh my god. This is so unnecessary, I think. That's what I think right now. Tensile strength, compressive strength. I feel like that should be good enough. For our purposes. And flexibilities, stuff like that. Crushing, I guess you can crush wood. I guess that's a thing. And we're going to go parallel to the grain again. For compressive strength. Wait, was I looking at that to begin with? Tensile strength. No, I was looking at the tensile strength. And there's like bending strength, all this other stupid stuff. Anything we want to represent, we have to add into this element thing here. Yeah, that's all perpendicular to the grain. No. This was actually the compressive strength. Okay, well, since we already have the meters or the thing specified, I should actually write what these like define, what tensile strength is. The amount of force before the element, the amount of pulling force before the element snaps. The amount of crushing force before the, how about I say squeezing force? No, yeah. Before the element collapses. We actually move that over here. What would the tensile strength be then? I'm assuming the tensile strength, well, it could be comparable. I'm assuming the tensile strength is lower than the compressive strength, because with compressive strength, you're like pushing into other molecules. Just in general, across the board, I'm going to say that's like a trend. Tensile strength of oak wood. Okay, can we get something here? Okay, hold on. I'm getting very different measurements from different results. Oh my god, this is like carpentry. This is like a carpentry website. Got a lot of different wood types, though. Yeah, they have the bending strength here. Okay, red oak, that's the one we're looking at, right? More or less. PSI to megapascals. 46 megapascals, which, you know, multiplied by 1,000 would be 4,600. What the hell? It's like the results vary widely. Parallel to the green. Maybe I'm not giving wood enough credit. Okay, I should bump this number up then. I'm gonna say like 3,800 for compressive strength. I gotta learn to be able to like intuit these. Like, by the time I'm done making this game, I'm gonna like see I'm gonna see like a wedge of what is it called when you have the pieces of wood? Oh my god, there's a word for that. Well, I'm gonna see like a piece of firewood or something, and I'm gonna know exactly how hard I would have to pull. Not only would I know the number in like megapascals for it to break, but I would know intuitively exactly how hard I would have to pull in order to rip it in half. And I'd know that for like everything, basically. I need to learn how to intuit these different values. Again, I would be willing to guess, based off of my scientific knowledge, that the tensile strength along the grain, or parallel to the grain, is higher than the compressive strength. Can't find the tensile strength though. Uh, so the AI overview is saying 77.2 to 113.4 megapascals, which sounds reasonable. I'm just gonna say 6,000 for tensile strength. Boom, boom. We have oak wood. The amount of pulling force for the element snaps. The amount of crushing force for the elements collapses. Okay. Okay, cool. Wait, what? No, I feel like the compressive strength should be higher. Because you're smushing. You already have molecules there. What the hell? It is shearing, though, I guess. What is this? Oh my god, I have to do a CAPTCHA. No! What the hell? I don't know how to read this. Oh. Wait, what? Okay. Well, it doesn't have the unit. I don't see it. And every time I click on one of the images, it takes me, it's like a whole new tab, so I have to click the back button like 15 times to get out of this hellhole. Strength properties of commercially important woods. Um, what the hell? I just want to know how hard you have to pull until a piece of wood breaks. This is lame. And I also like the shearing strength. Tensile strength. I already found the tensile strength, right? Not necessarily. Come on. It's .gov? This is I'm gonna have to go down a rabbit hole for every element I want to add. Not actually. Again, I gotta learn how to intuit these. Oh my god, this is like a whole ass scientific paper. Kilopascals. Oh, wait. Wait a minute. Perpendicular to grain. You don't have the tension parallel to grain. Oh my god. What the hell? Okay, well, we can at least see the relative strength here. We can just get like a ratio. It's perpendicular to grain. Okay. Tension perpendicular to grain. Compression. Why is the compressive strength lower? Well, can I look that up? Why is the compressive strength of wood lower than tensile? The hell? Oh, I guess that kind of makes sense. Like, I don't know. I guess it's the way it distributes the load or whatever. Okay, well then I'm gonna say the tensile strength is like 5,000, 4,800. Magic number. That's fine. For testing purposes, this is fine. Don't have to go any further. Oh my god. This is stupid. This is so unnecessary. Um like am I just wasting my time completely right now? Okay. Um Look, I've said it multiple times. I'm just going to keep going to see what happens. This could be the greatest chemistry engine ever added to any game if I stick with it. These ideas have been cooking in my brain for years. Solid density in grams per meter squared. Okay, so wait, what were we trying to do? Right, I think we were trying to figure out how much force we needed before it would break, and now we have all that information here. So if we just surpass the tensile strength in some way, or the I guess it would be more so like the compressive strength, but I mean, you know. I could get like an average, maybe. Get directional contents. Collide. Print. New line. For reactant and C.reactants. Should I return like a chemical collision result as well? Like make a type for that, or should I just have it in the system? Which is more so the original plan, if I did it that way. Yeah, basically what we can do now is check our own directional contents and get the tensile strength, and if it's like above a certain amount, then we can like destroy everything. I don't know. We can tick some sort of box in system that says like compromised or something like that, and then we'll check that on the rigid body, and if that's true, then we trigger the destruction of the thing. However, I'm probably gonna end stream now, so I guess I'll talk a little bit before I end stream. This is scary. This to me is scary right here. I don't want this to become like a quantum simulation project. So I'm going to try and like rein it in as much as I can whilst still preserving the vision I have in mind. Really, this is like health values, okay? That's what we can think of this of. We can think of this as like armor before it starts taking damage. In certain contexts, that's all it is. We're not going to be doing any stupid simulations. We're just going to be doing calculations, okay? That's all. That is all we're going to do. It's fine. It's fine. We'll be fine. We're going to keep going, see what happens. I mean, with the barrel example, you know, now we can represent destroying the barrel. With the tensile strength, we cannot yet represent the expansion of the balloon. But once we add, like, tensile flexibility, then we should be good. And it would be tensile in that case. It would be bending. It would be some, like, level of bending. Yeah, but I'm just going to use tensile strength for that. We're going to have tensile and compressive. Those are our two major things. Yeah, and then with density, we can, you know, figure out which gases move towards the top of a contiguous container. And then the visual representation stuff, I think we can figure that out. It's just going to be like choosing different visualizations depending on like the state of the element. So if we could have like, you know, a way to represent like one shader for gas, and then if we figure out it's in a gas state, we just represent it that way. With solids would be the trickiest because they have, you know, complicated shapes and stuff like that. We could do something like Rimworld or Scribblenauts, probably. It's possible. Yeah. Yeah, we're going to keep working on this. I'll be streaming tomorrow. Keep working on it then. But for today, I'm going to end it. So thank you everyone who stopped in. Thank you the fan wiggles. You were the only chatter today. I will see you all tomorrow. Take care. Do some backflips. Not actually. Do good things. Do good and cool things. I will see you all tomorrow. Take care. See you later.